Hi, my name is Jimmy T with Phoenix Home Inspections. I wanted to create a video on crawlers. Now, they come by different names. Unfortunately, some of them are trademarked. You have these here that were made by Charles. He's got the trademark Charles Crawlers. There's a couple other individuals that make them. There's also a series called Crawlbots, which I absolutely refuse to use that name after I've been called out for describing this. It's kind of like Kleenex tissues. Crawlbots tend to be a unanimous name, but honestly, you can't use that name unless you're actually using their product, so you will not hear me ever use that name again. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about crawlers. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's not a lot of information out there that I wish that there was a video out there to show you about crawlers like what I'm going to show you today. So consider this after hours. It's the end of the day. I just wanted to do a quick video on information about crawlers in case you're thinking about considering about purchasing one. I'm not trying to sell you one by no means. Crawlers are not for everybody. I've been using one for approximately about 3 years. I've only had this one for about 3 months now, I believe, 3-4 months. So I wanted to get some good use in it before I actually did a video talking about it. This has been my primarily one that I've been using for the last almost 3 years total. So I've had some experience. My crawl spaces, when it comes to inspections, 70% of my inspections are all crawl spaces. Here in Indiana, that seems to be the only thing we have primarily is crawl spaces. Some areas do not have them. You guys that have a lot of houses that have slabs, God bless you. You've got it easy. The thing is, if you don't have a lot of crawl spaces in your area, I would probably not invest in one of these. These can be a pricey investment. They are a great tool, a great asset. So a quick reminder as to what it's like to do a crawl space. So let me show you a video of me attempting to do this recording earlier. I'm actually going to get in this crawl space, not using my crawler today. And I'm going to kind of describe why I like using a crawler. Well, first of all, I had to put my coveralls, my knee pads, I've got my clean boots on. They're going to get muddy. I'm getting ready to get into this hole. Hope to God there ain't any snakes. It looks like it's damp and wet, where if I would have actually had gotten my crawler out, I could have actually just stuck the stupid thing in the hole, drove it around. Oh, small hole. And my coveralls are stuck in the door. Where I could have just stuck my little robot in this little hole. Of course, now I'm in this dark, damp place on my belly in the water where I could have used my crawler. So, is it really worth it? Do you actually stay out of crawl spaces? Honestly, I still get in crawl spaces, even when I go, ooh, it is wet in here, with my crawler. But, you know, if you're thinking about getting one, the benefits of having one, and, you know, you may be asking, do I need a four-wheel, six-wheel, all-wheel drive, tracks, wheels, what's best? What about cases? You know, all that good stuff. But anyway, I'm going to get out of this crawl space once I get this inspection done, and then explain to you the benefits of owning a four-wheel, all-wheel drive crawler versus a six-wheel. And well, I'm going to finish this. So the thing about doing a crawl space on yourself is you've got to put the gear on. You know, whether you use Tyvek suits, jump suits. You know, I use the coveralls, knee pads, getting your cameras. Then you're risking at possibly cracking the screen of your phone if you're using it, or your tablet, whatever device you are. A lot of people will use cameras. Those are great options because nothing like cracking a screen when you go to a crawl space. Reasons to get a crawler. There's multiple reasons. One may be health-related issues, whether you've got a bad back, bad wrists. I used to do crawl space work. I have no problem getting into crawls. But when I used to do crawl space, I noticed my wrist started really hurting because you spend so much time on your wrist. So a crawler was a great investment for me. The thing about crawlers is they keep you from having those close encounters with snakes. If a crawl space is full of asbestos, black mold, any of that, granted, you could wear a respirator, but you don't have to deal with it. The thing about crawlers is it does not keep you out of crawl spaces. With crawlers, the primary reason why you will still get into a crawl space is if it has a sump pump. You cannot test a sump pump for operation. You cannot test electrical outlets with these crawlers. The other reason why I tend to get into crawl spaces, even with having this, and I'll even go in after using this, mainly to find snakes, make sure there's not any, then I go in, is sometimes when you're viewing your camera, your video feed is on a little small screen. I think this is a 7-inch screen. The problem about the 7-inch screen is I'm recording in high def 4K. This does not record or display in 4K. It's standard definition. So sometimes those cobwebs, liquid nails, if you guys know what that is, will look like mud tubes, which is related to termites. So if I see that, I will get a close viewing with the cameras, but I will tend to still go in the crawl space just to make sure it's a stupid cobweb, not an actual mud tube. A lot of times though, when you do see mud tubes, there's no doubt it's a mud tube. Usually if you question it, it's probably a spider web or a start of a mud tube. So it's still good to go into the crawl space. Now, if you're like me, if you're looking at investing one, the question is, do I need the 4-wheeler or do I need a 6-wheeler? Now, Charles crawlers, they're all-wheel drive. They zero spin, turn. They're pretty sweet. Let's start with the basics. The 4-wheel unit is an all-wheel unit. They come with lights. He does, I believe, have a model with independent suspension. I would recommend that. He's also got an option for a full program remote. I don't know if it includes on this unit. I believe so. It does cost a little bit more money, but it's definitely worth it. But with a basic setup like this, this is a great crawler for any individual that is not good with electronics. You struggle with a smartphone, laptop, computer, you're thinking about getting a crawler, get something basic and simple like this. The reason why I say that is the trick to this unit. Now, I apologize, Charles, if you're watching this video, because I have wore my switch out and I need to replace it. And where did I put that? On-off switch has 2 screws in here. They came loose. This thing's kind of broken, so I've got to use a tool to flip the on switch. But one of the things you'll find out with Charles's crawlers is you want to turn the remote on to send the signal, because these things will act a little crazy if you don't. And then I will turn this thing on. My unit's probably a little different than some of the other units out there, because this is one of his originals, where it has 2 batteries, one for the lights, one for the motor. But all you gotta do is turn this on. One problem with crawlers I found out, I upgraded this. I had the black screen. You can see I can control the remote here. I changed it from the black one to the orange one, which is 4K. The problem with the 4K is it takes the better quality SD card. It's like the gold looking one. If you don't have the right card in it, this thing will take like 3 pictures, quit working. Same thing with the Get Up camera. But this thing is pretty simple. You know, I've got this turned on. One joystick will actually operate the camera, or the other one will actually operate the wheels. So let me give you a little demonstration on what this thing can do. Let me switch my camera views. In case you're wondering, I'm using the Mevo camera setup to record this. Using, I think it's Shock's headphone set with the speaker. But this thing is really kind of, you can actually just feather it, easily control it. My remote, I need to recalibrate because I've got it off just a hair. And I've not used this thing forever. But you can actually finesse this. You can see I'm about to fall off. that you can really finesse this to get into areas that you normally wouldn't be able to. So if the question is, could I just buy a regular RC car, strap a 360 Go camera? First of all, I'm going to tell you, you would not be able to do that with an RC car and to be able to move that slow. The other thing is, with an RC car, demonstrating this, if you need to turn around, what would you have to do? You have to pull up, back, pull up, reverse, pull up, reverse. This thing will spin. An RC car, you cannot do that. This is great, especially in tight corners, or if you get to an ledge of something. I can sit here and spin it and not have to worry about accidentally going over to it. The problem with this little unit is you can see it'll try to climb. It can easily climb a 4-inch piece of pipe. What you have to be careful of is not hitting it straight on, because you can actually, I'm going to try to do it, you can actually straddle this where you lose control of it. Now, as long as one of the wheels is touching, you can actually rock it back and forth and get off of it. But this is not something you want to do in a crawl space. So whenever you come across a pipe like this, unlike the 6-wheeled, you really just want to kind of bump over it and hit it head on. Sorry, my pipe isn't real secure. Give me it. So what I mean is, hit with like a running start, because you won't be able to bounce it. So you go straight over it. That's the trick to this. The other thing is, with the zero turn, one thing that'll get you in trouble with these every time is, if you come up across some wires and you do the spin, you're just going to wrap the wheels into that wire. Even going forward, you might actually catch a wire. And if you do that, like if you're moving forward and it stops because it's stuck on a wire, just put reverse and then change your direction, and that'll get you untangled. So that there is the 4-wheel drive. Like I said, this thing is, I mean, it's a pretty good beast. I mean, I couldn't imagine being able to do this with just a Walmart RC car with a 360 camera tied up to it. A lot of times when you get in trouble is because of user error. This thing will, if you run into a wall, it will try to climb that wall. I mean, I've got that almost standing up on its rear tires. Let me do it from the other view so you can see it. So you can see I got that almost standing up on its rear end. If I keep going, of course, it'll cause it to pop. If I go at a different angle, I could almost climb it. But this is a great investment if you're not really good with electronics. It's very simple, sweet. Now the problem with this setup, with the way mine was ordered, is, let me show you 2 things. This thing is like a shoebox on wheels. Like I said, if you get it stuck like this, you can teeter-totter it. The other problem is he does make one that has independent suspension where the wheels will drop, which is a great alternative to this if you're willing to spend the extra money. The other problem with this setup is the way it's designed is you press and hold, turn it on, and you quick press it, and it records video. It's great because it also records audio. Most of the time when he sends them, he turns them off, but you get in the settings, you can turn it off. But you're recording video, so what you have to do is go back to the video, which if you got Windows, there's already a video program. You click on it, and over in the right hand corner, you can, if you hit stop, I think it's in the right hand corner, you got where you can save photo from video. When you click it, opens up a new window, and you take that slide button so you can actually take your pictures. So what I do using that function is I'll drive this up, go to, say, like a pier or a post. I stop, pause 3 seconds, so that way when I'm fast forwarding and I notice I'm staying on a frame for a while, It's because there's a picture I want to take. You know, I'll drive over to a wall, I stop and pause for like 3 to 5 seconds. Drive over, center beam, stop and pause for 5 seconds. You know, window vent, stop and pause for 5 seconds. So that way when you're fast forwarding, it doesn't go through. If you just drive around, 360, come in, and you try to take your pictures that way off of that video, they're going to be blurry because they're in motion. You want to stop and pause for 3 to 5 seconds as a trigger to remind you, hey, there was something here that I saw. Now this thing here has an independent suspension. What makes it nice is these wheels actually, I don't know if you can see it, they actually move. I believe he sells a 4-wheel drive one that has the independent suspension where these will move, and you're less likely to get caught up because these will drop down. The 6-wheeled also, because it's a little bit longer, if you're on a bigger pipe or a set of pipes, sometimes you'll get stuck, where this one, you've got at least a wheel or maybe a set of wheels that are on the ground, and they'll keep you moving. So this is a great improvement, and the reason why I switched to this mainly is because I wanted to have the option to be able to snap pictures. It's a little bit of a different remote. He has to set up where you can actually control the lights. I don't know if you can see that or not. Flash the lights. This actually will control the lights, and then I've got a switch that will actually take snapshots of my pictures. So using this unit, the reason a 6-wheel is probably better than a 4-wheel is just because you have more points of contact with the ground, and then you add in the independent suspension. It makes things a lot even better. Like I said, you can still finesse this. The tricky part about this unit is, now try to do that with an RC car. I'm going to try to drive up. Part of me is dangling. And like I said, going over these, you can see how I can actually more points of contact, where you know how I struggled with the 4-wheel drive. You can see I have no issues with this one. And again, this one, just like the other one, it will try to climb walls. So you've got to be careful when you're watching the camera not to go straight up. Since I'm a little bit longer, I think I can actually drive right over it without. No. So I am pretty much on my rear end. If I went any further, it would actually flip over, because this thing will try to scale walls. Show you from the other end. Whoops. Oh, the other thing is low clearance. You gotta have 6 inches of clearance. I can almost, that's probably 5.5 inches. I'm an inch short of being able to crawl underneath that. But if I'm going underneath, yeah. My camera just hits it. So if you remember earlier, I said the 4-wheel unit is probably better for those that are technically challenged when it comes to using cell phones, tablets, and everything else. Where this is a little bit more, not as user-friendly. The reason why I say that is because you can experience magnetic interference. I've experienced more magnetic interference or radio signal interference with this unit, and it has to do with the receiver, I believe, and using this unit. And what that means is something is triggering the communications from this to this, that what it'll do is it'll broadcast a frequency that causes it to want to keep moving forward really slow or backwards. Usually what that is I'm close to metal or something is what I'm finding out. So a lot of times I'll just turn the remote off to kill the signal, reestablish the signal, or stick it down in near the crawl space access door. Works just fine. If not, you need to reset it. The thing is, with these crawlers, from the guy that builds these, he says if you turn this on before you turn the remote, that puts you at that risk of getting some of those interferences. Or at least I know with the four-wheeled unit. This one, like I said, it's a little bit more complicated. It can cause you issues. The other thing is you got to be more patient. Like when I flip the switch down and take a picture, my monitor will flash and it lets you know that you took a picture. Or if you put it in a record, it'll have a red flashing button, which is really simple. But you gotta be, it takes a minute, well I shouldn't say take a minute, it takes just a second or two for that signal to reach here to take the picture or to record that video. If you're like, it's not doing it, it's kind of like whenever you hit escape, you know, and your computer's kind of processing something, and then all of a sudden, all these windows black out, and that's not what you wanted. You've got to take your time with this. Just real simple, like 1 second down, up, 1 second down, up. Watch that screen flash, turn it off, or turn it back to the reset position. The reason why I upgraded this was because it saved me a lot of time in my paperwork. I got to the point where I'd rather go into a crawl space, take the pictures if it was a small crawl space, versus recording it, having to take the SD card out, downloading the video, taking my photos from that video. Where when I went through this, it's like using a drone. Right? It's you know, you take your pictures, plug them in where you need to. You can even document it on your phone if that's what you use, and plug those photos in there at the end. Works great. Things that I don't like about the bigger crawler versus the smaller one. One of the things is the case. Finding a case for it is a little difficult. As you can see, my different cases, my smaller one, I believe this was a condition 1 case. I think it's like a 24 by something. Anyway, this is a great case, perfect size. If you go with something like this with your crawler, make sure you always unplug this because you'll damage this plug-in on the little mini USB that goes in the back of the camera. I unplug that so that way it doesn't get caught. I like this. I can keep everything in here, plus I keep my charging cables, everything I need for this. Doing the same thing with the bigger case. I think this was made by Alaire. I wanted to have the same thing where everything is in the same case. The problem is everything fits in it. It's just too dang deep. This thing takes up the whole back seat of my cab of my truck. Technically, I could actually, if I wanted to, see, I've cut the foam out where everything fits in. I could almost put a board here on top of this, take that foam insert, put that in there, and then put my secondary crawler. But I don't want 2 crawlers in one case. I want to keep them separated. But as you can see, there's a lot of freaking room in this case. Let's see, do I have the measurements? This is the triple XL 32-inch protective. So inner dimensions 28.8 by 17 by 15.08. Outer dimensions is 31.65 by 19 by 37 by 17. So stupid thing's like 18 inches tall. If you could find one that was shorter, this case would be perfect. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. I should have bought this case because this 3-wheel crawler will fit in this case. Nothing else will fit in the case, but the crawler will. I could have bought that and then turned around and actually bought another case just to hold the remote and the screen and the chargers, and just had 2 smaller ones, and then wouldn't take up as much space as what the stupid Alaire cases that I have down here. So if I was to do it over again, I would have bought another one of these cases, a smaller case, to be able to put that in there. But so what's the difference between a four-wheel and a six-wheel? Very simple. More points of contact. Some upgraded features that I would recommend if you're going to buy one is one that's got the independent suspension because you're less likely to get caught up. The other thing is if you can spend the extra money, is to do the full programmed remote where you can take the picture so you're not doing a video. The thing is though, with the video, is if by chance you forgot to take a photo, you've got it all recorded on video. So you can go through it, pause it at the right spot, take a picture. Because maybe you forgot to take a pause and took a picture of the ground or the subflooring or the beam or the pier. There might have been something you just forgot because something caught your attention. If you recorded it in video, you've got everything. That's the reason why this one here has the hookup on the back of it for a 360 camera. So that way, in case you might have overlooked something, you can always go back and actually pull it off of the video. Little tips and tricks. If I hadn't mentioned it before, make sure you've got the right SD card for the cameras, because if you don't have the one that's able to process the 4K images, you'll go in there and it will not record video or take photos. Something else that I did different is I tend to break the antennas on the back of these. I've broke, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. These stupid things, they don't last very long because when I took it up on the wall, and you know, sooner or later you're going to drop it. You'll snap the antenna off of the little transmitter that sends your video feed. So I bought these little knobbies. They may cut my reception down a little bit, but I've not had any issues with it. And they're solid, and with them being short like this, they don't extend past the crawler, so I'm not going to break it. The 6-wheel unit, it's right off the back of it. Same thing, this is supposed to go on here. I replace it with the knobby, but with as close as it is to the body, I'm not going to snap it off. Our crawl spaces are nasty and cluttered. For those that are like, shows those videos, those really nice clean crawl spaces that are all encapsulated, and they show those big 8-inch center blocks going down the middle for the beam or the supporting wall. Like, how can you crawl across there? I'm sorry, you can stand up in that damn thing. If you can stand up in a crawl space, don't use this. Just get your butt down in there and inspect it. It's a basement, it's not a crawl space at that point. You know. But the thing is, with a crawler, it does save you time. It's a lot quicker, it's safer. I've been in a crawl space that had carbon monoxide being pumped in it because the exhaust off of the furnace, as an old furnace, wasn't hooked up, and that fumes was just shooting me in the face, and I didn't see it until I had been down there for a while, and I finally found the pipe that was broken. I've been in crawl spaces that were full of asbestos, but I had this. I went in a crawl space that had about a 6 foot long snake skin. No snake, thank God. That was before I bought this. Actually, after the snake skin, I bought this. I've had crawl spaces where I've opened up the hatch and then there was 2 big black rat snakes right there in the entrance. I wouldn't go in it. They're non-poisonous, no big deal. I would not gone in the crawl space, but with the crawler, I stuck it in there. I've had buildings where you only got 6-8 inches of clearance. I cannot get in there physically, or not comfortably. I'll send the crawler in. But in those instances, first rule of thumb, imagine on every crawl space that you do that, what can I get my crawler if I flip it or overturn it? You know, accidents happen. If the answer is no, don't send your crawler in, or if you do, tie a line to it so you can drag it back out. Otherwise, you're looking at losing a lot of money in that crawl space. So make sure you always have this thing tethered. If there's an incident where you know you physically cannot get in that crawl space to retrieve it. How good are these? I have fully submerged this one. I'll try to see if I can't find a video. I've actually fully submerged this one. This is the exact same one. Same camera. I did change the transmitter on it, but this one I fully submerged it. It does float. I don't know if that one floats or not. With the bottom being open, this thing's been in probably about 10 crawl spaces already. Some of them are flooded, some of them are muddy. You can see the electronics and stuff are not dirty. and it's very easy to wipe clean. All the stuff that you probably don't want it to get fried is actually under this panel or up close to this. So from here on down, don't drive this thing in the river. You know, that's just being stupid. Find higher ground, drive over it. You know, take care of them. But as you can see, I don't baby this thing, but do take care of it. And it'll last you a long time. There's not a lot that goes wrong with them. If you do flood them or drive them into a sump pit, just let them dry. Unhook everything, unhook the batteries, let them dry out. You'll be good to go for the next time. But hopefully this helps you understand a little bit about crawlers. Again, they will not keep you out of crawl spaces. You'll still go into crawl spaces because of sump pumps and electrical outlets. But there's a lot of times that you don't have to go in. Or those sump pumps are right by the door. You could take all of your photos with this, come back out and then crawl in that hole, operate that sump pump, and then be right out in 3 minutes. So hopefully this helps you guys decide if you're wanting to get one or if this is something you should look further into. But I've been using one, again, for 3 years. I use them I use them weekly. I don't want to say I use them daily. Every now and then I get a break, get a basement now and then. But the majority of the houses I do are crawl spaces, so I highly recommend getting a crawler if that's what your area is like. If most of your houses are slabs and basements, shoot, just buy a good set of knee pads and keep at it, you know. But for us inspectors that do a lot of buildings that have a lot of crawl spaces, I highly recommend investing in one of these because these are a safe alternative. Or even just to stick it in the hole, drive it around to make sure there's no snakes, no electrical wires, no standing water, making sure the environment's safe before you enter. Hey, that's even worth it, that alone, not even having to use it for inspection. But until next time, Jimmy T with Phoenix Home Inspections, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks. Bye.